So, I guess I'll start with a little bit about me. I'm an engineering evangelist at Retail Me Not in Austin, Texas. I'm an LED and wearables enthusiast for the NodeBots community. My shoes light up right now, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. See me at the workshop if you're interested in hearing about that. I've been in tech for 6 years professionally. I've been programming for closer to 10 from a hobbyist perspective, and then became a professional programmer. I am female, I'm loud, and I have bright hair. And I'm usually a GIF addict, but I don't have any GIFs today because I'm entirely serious about this topic, because it's very important that we talk about these kind of things. And I have one rule for this talk and in general. When I talk about my experiences and when others talk about their experiences, I want you to stop pretending to be shocked. I want to stop hearing the phrase, "I can't believe that happened," because it did. And it does every day. Being shocked is solving nothing. And so we need to stop pretending to be shocked and start working on solutions. The next slide, content warning for the following. If that triggers you, just close your eyes, because I'm not going to read any of it aloud. I'm just going to leave this up here for a few seconds for you to read. And I want you to think about what this might be a list of. This could be the worst things to happen to anyone in tech. This could be the worst things to happen to anyone ever. This could be a lot of things. This is actually a list of my experiences in tech. And I've only been in tech 6 years. And there are folks out there who have it way worse than I do. And that's concerning. And I'm not going to stand here and quote statistics, because you've all heard the statistics before. But I'm giving you this background so I can talk from my experience, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. The Yutzes are numerous, and they are vocal. They are very, very vocal. They hide behind the egg-shaped avatars and the nameless display names of Twitter, Facebook, the internet, and they're everywhere. At least it feels like they're everywhere. So what is a Yutz? A Yutz is someone who makes people around them uncomfortable with their inappropriate behavior on a regular basis. A Yutz rarely has the intent or the realization that their behavior is upsetting people. A Yutz doesn't necessarily violate codes of conduct on a regular basis, but that doesn't negate the negative effects of their behavior. The other thing I've found about Yutzes is they get defensive very, very quickly when confronted about their behavior. So how do you avoid being a Yutz? How do you avoid being that person that you'll notice people start to avoid at conferences or in the tech world in general? I have a few don'ts and do's. Don't trivialize others' experiences. You will not believe how many times I've told people a story, which takes a lot of trust, a lot of energy, and a lot of thought from me to share my experiences. That's never happened to me. You can't be serious. I can't believe that happened. I mean, I can, but I can't. And I totally understand, because insert completely awkward, non-proportional comparison. For me, this was relating to a conference organizer that someone had made a sex joke at me, and he said, no, I understand, because I've had to wait in line for the men's bathroom at tech conferences. Really? I don't think those are the same. But we trivialize other people's experiences accidentally because we haven't lived them, because we don't understand the impact that they have on these individuals. What we can do instead is we can listen, we can believe, and we can amplify the voices of the people living these experiences. Read the stuff that makes you uncomfortable. If there's one thing you take away, take that away. Read the stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Read the stories that keep you up at night. That discomfort is usually your privilege at not experiencing and living these experiences, causing you that discomfort. Read the stories that make you uncomfortable. Think about why they make you uncomfortable and act on them. The fact that Anita Sarkeesian lives in a world where she really had to say believing women when they relate their experiences is the most radical thing we can do. I'm not saying what she said was wrong. I'm saying the fact that we live in a world where she's right is pretty upsetting. We need to really think about that. That the most radical thing we can do is believe people when they speak up about their experiences. Don't just favorite things on Twitter. Retweet them. Amplify the voices of people that may not have that same audience as you. Don't tone police. You'd have more allies if you weren't so angry. You're overreacting. Don't be that woman. Don't be that person. You're being hysterical. I've been told I'm hysterical before. Do you understand how much angrier that actually makes me? A lot angrier, just a hint. Instead, understand that these groups are angry and that we have every reason to be angry. If I need to show you the slide of all the things I've lived through in the 6 years in tech, I can show it again. I have a reason to be angry. And there are groups that are much angrier than I am, and they have every right to be. Getting defensive absolutely solves nothing. Just because someone is angry does not mean they're angry at you specifically. We're angry at the system, not necessarily at you. Getting defensive solves absolutely zero of the problems. Don't demand the time of a representative of the group you are trying to learn more about. I don't know how many times I've tried to walk away from the conversation to hear, well, if you really cared, you'd educate me on this in the form of you'd show proof or you'd show statistics. What you're saying when you're saying that is I demand your time, and if you don't give it to me, then obviously your cause is not just. Sounds a lot worse when I translate it that way, right? But that's what you're saying when you say you'd show proof or you'd show statistics if you really cared. If someone says stop messaging me or stop talking to me, stop right there. Stop messaging them, stop talking to them. We need to start respecting people's boundaries, and the internet is terrible at it. You are never entitled to another person's time. It doesn't matter if they're in the same marginalized group as you, or they have more privilege than you, or they have less privilege than you. You are never entitled to another person's time. Do educate yourself. For the case of women in tech specifically, there's the Geek Feminism Wiki, great resource to educate yourself. Again, read the stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Don't just gloss over it because it makes you feel funny. Read it. It's important. Just Google it. You will find plenty of reads about all sorts of marginalized groups, their experiences, their problems, and what they need for help. And do feel free to ask. Just respect people's boundaries. If someone doesn't want to answer your question, just respect it, look up yourself, and move on. On the instance of education, if you don't know what these 4 things are, go look them up. In tech, they happen all the time. As the case of derailing, there's a site called derailingfordummies.com. Great read. Shows all the different types of derailing, and it puts it in very easy to understand terms. Especially unconscious bias. That's one of the most sinister things that happens in tech and in general. Don't be complicit. This is an extremely important one. When you are silent when bad behavior goes on, you are complicit and you are not helping, you are hurting. You are allowing this behavior to continue by remaining silent. You need to speak up. You need to call out bad behavior, especially when the group in question is not in the room. Because how are we ever going to fill the room with diverse candidates if we keep scaring them off with this bad behavior that we're not stopping? So we need everyone here to speak up when you see bad behavior, especially, again, when the person in question or the group in question is not represented in the room. That is the most important time for y'all to speak up. And if you're scared, I understand. It's scary. But imagine how much scarier it is for a person with less privilege than you. I have been officially reprimanded at work for speaking up against a coworker who said I belonged in the kitchen. If one of my male coworkers had spoken up, I'd like to believe they wouldn't have gotten officially reprimanded. So if you think it's scary and you think people are going to make fun of you, that's scary. That's true. But there are a lot more scary realities for people other than yourselves. Don't assume your advice is novel, wanted, or necessary. I know this sounds harsh, but let me finish my statement before we get too judgmental on that. If I hear, well, actually, I need to start carrying an air horn because every time I hear the words, well, actually, I just want to go, burr, like just start using an air horn. I've done it too. I am working to remove it from my vocabulary, but I still slip up. And I try to catch myself, and we should all try to catch ourselves. We need to stop saying, well, actually, especially in that tone. If you're jumping into a conversation, that's cool. The internet is all about socializing. But don't jump in with your advice. For instance, a couple days ago, I was chatting online with my friend Randy. We wanted to make a game about Gamergate. And we wanted to make a tower defense game that spawned a little nasty creature every time someone tweeted about Gamergate. And we wanted it to have a shield if they tweeted not your shield. And so we're talking about this online, and I said, oh, well, yeah, we could spin up a node server with Twitter. And this guy jumps in and he goes, well, you don't need to bother with that because you can use Twitter from the browser. Randy and I are both web developers, and we understand that that doesn't scale. So all that guy really did was try to show off to us, and he ended up looking kind of like really a Yutz. Now, I'm not saying don't give advice. I'm saying offer advice. Ask if they would like some advice. Usually, they'll say yes. In fact, most of the time, we'll say yes. You know what really helps, though, besides advice? Opportunities and resources. Don't tell me you don't have them. I work in tech. I know how this works. We have plenty of opportunities and tons of resources. We need to start spreading them around to the groups that deserve them just as much as the groups that have the most. We need to start teaching, sponsoring, and amplifying voices. Don't just say you want to help, get up and do it. I've started calling people when they talk to me and they say, well, you know, I wish I could do something. You can. Go do it. Don't co-opt the movement that you are trying to represent. If you're an ally, that's awesome. That means deferring to the experiences of the people you are allied with. Do not use diversity events to sell your product. I have been to way too many women in tech events that they've been run by these companies that just used it to sell the services of the company to a targeted demographic. There's nothing that seems more disingenuous than showing up to a women in tech event and being sold to. You feel targeted, you feel violated, and it feels terrible. Do not use diversity events to sell yourself. If you want to sponsor, awesome, do it. Do not use that to co-opt that event to sell yourself. This last one's kind of specific. Don't author a book about women in tech, make money off of it, and then bully women in tech who speak up against you. Some of you will know the book I'm speaking of, and I'm calling that author out. You need to stop it. Join the movement. We want you, women in tech, we want you in the movement. I can't speak for other movements, but I'm pretty sure that all of the movements of marginalized groups need as much support and as many allies as we can get. Follow the previous steps, be ready to make some mistakes, and don't be scared. You don't really, part of the reason we need your help is because we are scared, because there are real consequences for us speaking up. The more allies we have that have fewer consequences, the easier this will get for everybody. So here's a bit of scary news. We will all mess up. Everyone in this room has and will again say something offensive to a marginalized group. I have done it. I've used ableist language in the past couple weeks even. I try not to, but I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. We will mess up. So, oh no, I messed up. Someone's mad at me. What do I do? Apologize. Now I'm going to give Apologies 101 because I have seen a lot of really messed up apologies in the past couple weeks, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen them too. This is how you apologize. That's it. That is all you say right there. That is it. Nothing else. Nothing else goes in that sentence unless you know exactly what you're saying. And absolutely no ifs should go after I am sorry. There is no if. You messed up and someone is angry at you. Do not say the word if after I'm sorry. And I sound angry, that's because I am. And that's because if I hear I'm sorry if I offended someone one more time, I may not be responsible for my actions after that. Because I can't stand it. Because that means, by the emotion of apologizing, you are admitting that yes, you have offended someone. Stop trying to qualify it. Just apologize. It's not that hard. I mean, you feel weird, but you feel better at the end of it. If you want to add something to the end of that sentence, add that sentence. I will learn from this mistake and mean it and learn from it. I try to learn every time I mess up and say something remarkably stupid about another group of people. Try to do that as well, but don't say it unless you mean it. So I have a message to my fellow women in tech in the room, and I see more of you than I thought I would, and that is awesome. Tech is awful, and Node has some serious work to do. For instance, this week, they used the word meritocracy. They really used the word, literally, meritocracy in the letter about the Node.js advisory board. Are we kidding? Have we really not established that a meritocracy is by default not happening here? Okay, well, I guess we haven't. So yes, Node has work to do. Happy is doing some great work with getting diversity into tech. Raquel Velez, CJ Silverio, there are some women in Node specifically who are doing some great things to increase diversity. And NodeBots community will be happy to have you. If you have any interest in robotics whatsoever, bring it. We're one big happy family. We have our problems, but we're working on them. Be strong and stick with me. You all know the statistic that 56% of women will leave tech before the end of their career. Stick with me. We can do this. Go check out this is for all of you. Go check out CJ Silverio's No More Unicorns talk. Join us in the Icebreakers. And if you have questions or want help, reach out. and we're here for you. I do have one last thought, and this is just a call to action that most people have at the end of their slides. Hire or get hired someone who is different from you. Go do it. You can do it. Don't tell me you can't. Even if you were a freelancer, you know a buddy who works for a company. Go get someone hired that looks different from you, or hire someone that looks different from you. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your lunch.